Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
All right, so Caroline, I'm going to throw over to you. So why don't you tell us about glowing molecules/proteins?
So we have a new glowing protein molecule invented by AI.
And it's about time. It's about time.
AI's got to do something useful, right? So,
not just write essays for my students. Come on, what?
right. All right, so AI has created a new protein that glows or fluoresces, and researchers say that it would have taken 500 million years for this particular protein to evolve naturally in the environment.
Yeah.
AI did it quicker.
Yeah. Such a time saver.
Such a time saver.
Yeah.
Come on,
So
nature.
relaxed.
All right. This experiment was performed by a company called Evolutionary Scale, and they're using an AI model called ESM to create the glowing ESM GFP protein. And their findings were released on January 16th this year in the journal Science. Now, we know that protein molecules everywhere in our bodies, such as in muscle, in our immune system, for fighting off bacterial and viral invaders, and they can be enzymes, hormones, antibodies, etc. And these are real proteins that exist already and have evolved through natural processes over time. And a basic biochemistry lesson before we get into the rest of the topic is what are proteins? So they're large molecules made up of amino acids that link up into chains. Then these chains fold over into protein, and the structure of the protein actually determines the function of the protein. For example, everyone knows about hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin molecule found in red blood cells, it carries oxygen to your cells in your body, and it can only do so because of its shape and its ability to carry 4 iron atoms in just the right place for oxygen to bind to. So it's got to be exactly perfect. Now, the sequence of amino acids that make up a protein are determined by DNA, and these are the sequence of genes in living organisms, and the genes provide the instructions on how to make the protein required at the time. Then yes. Sorry,
can we just pause for a moment to thank hemoglobin for what it does?
Yes, thank you, hemoglobin. Without it, we can't live. That's so true.
That's correct.
I want a T-shirt that says exactly that. Good, thank you.
Whoa.
Hemoglobin.
Whoa.
Without it, we can't live.
We can't live. Yep.
That's it.
Thank you, hemoglobin. Sorry, Caroline. Continue.
Yes. So hemoglobin, yes, it's perfect. It's been created perfectly. It folds over naturally, perfectly, and yes, we need it to live. Without it, we can't live. So, yes. Now the genes provide instructions on how to make proteins, and then it gets a bit more complicated when we get to how the proteins are actually made and assembled in your cells, with amino acids. I assure you it's pretty cool. If you want to look it up, go for it. You will be amazed. But now we're going to go back to how this AI has generated a protein. So the new fluorescent protein actually doesn't exist except for in a computer model and in code that the ESM AI model has generated. The cool thing is that the glowing protein is similar to those found in jellyfish and coral. So the protein the protein has been given the name ESM GFP and is 58% similar to the closest known fluorescent protein found in a species of anemone called the bubble tip sea anemone. I always think when I read it, it's like sea, sip tea, but it's not. It's tipsy.
Yeah.
That's what my brain does. And they look like they have bubbles on the end of their tentacles. If you look them up, you'll see how beautiful they are. Just keep finding Nemo, the little enemies. Yeah.
Cool.
And they're really
Cool.
colorful and really unique. The species of anemone have fluorescent proteins in their tissues, which protect the anemone from environmental stresses and also can act as a deterrent for predators. The molecules do their thing when blue light is shone onto the anemone, and then they begin to glow. The difference between the fluorescent protein found in the anemone and one designed by AI ESM3 is 96 genetic mutations.
96? Goodness me.
Yes, so it would have had to have 96 changes in the genetic to produce this protein.
That's
So
a lot
is
of
that where you
changes.
get your 500 million years from? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so that's how long it would have taken.
Wow.
So, so if
yeah.
naturally, it would. Researchers say it would have taken more than 500 million years for those 96 genetic mutations to be done for it to evolve. Anyway,
Yeah. I was going to say evolution is not in a rush.
Evolution takes
nowhere to go. So,
time. It does it perfectly.
I can take my time. Yeah.
It chops and changes. Does this work? No. This works. Yes, let's keep it. That's how it goes. So the way the molecule was created was to use an incomplete protein and fill in the gaps by problem solving using AI, which does not have the restrictions of natural evolution. So by doing so, AI was able to design a protein that could potentially exist based on all the pathways natural evolution could take. So the team trained ESM3 by feeding it model data on proteins and data from 2.78 billion proteins found in nature. Then they randomly hid parts of the protein blueprint and got ESM3 to fill in the code gaps based on what it had learned. So instead of having to be, instead of having to be in the environment in an organism who requires fluorescence to survive, and this protein developing over a very, very, very long time, the AISM3 was able to create something based on a protein that exists already, figure out what's required, and create the new protein. So pretty amazing. Just imagine all the coding genius that has had to go into creating this technology.
Whoa.
It's like an AI chat GPT, but for biology. So
Biology. Goodness me.
Yes.
Can I ask a question though? Because now this is the part of the. So all right. So what is it? You said 96 mutations.
Yes.
It mapped out, right?
Yes.
So if we wanted to create this in real life, for example, we couldn't just manipulate 96 mutations like in a lab, could we? Is it possible? Or because so how would you get from a protein to making it glow? Like, could we couldn't do that, or we could, or
if you know what the code is to make it glow, you could do that. So I think that, it's all dependent on the sequence of genes.
Yeah,
so
sequence of genes.
The protein will be made and it's by a certain sequence. Then, for example, when an organism, say like reproduces and changes, if in the parents the genetic code is a little bit different, for some reason, like you get a mutation, so a change in the sequence of the genes, or something happens to the genes, then you might get glowing. So then it becomes advantageous, and that particular organism will continue to reproduce and glow. And then if it doesn't need it anymore for some reason, it may change, and that, it kind of is a natural thing. So it's all to do with environment and it's so complicated, but So
I've got a far-fetched question, and you could laugh at this if you want to, right? And I'm kind of serious about this too, right? As well, even though it's a silly question. There was an episode, I remember a long time ago, of a great cartoon series called Batman Beyond, right? So this is young, whatever his name was, who takes on the mantle of Batman from Bruce Wayne. And there's an actual episode where there was this trend with young people to go and get like genetic mutations where, they could get like, vampire teeth or bat's ears and grow wings, or, fur, whatever it is, right? And it was almost like just going into a parlor and getting a tattoo, right?
Yeah.
Is it is there any similarity to this where you could sort of like work out mutations and then, I don't know, people could get glowing tattoos or cosmetic, you know?
Goodness me. Whoa.
I know it sounds kind of silly, but
wow,
is there a step where if someone decided to be creative enough to eventually work this out, where we could go from this to that in humans, or is that just science fiction?
No, I think that there's kind of been experiments, this kind of thing happening where they inject genes into, say, like a bacteria, and all of a sudden they can produce this, or they can glow, or whatever. So you can kind of manipulate an organism into expressing something by injecting genes into them. With humans, it might be a bit more complicated.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a toughie. I mean, I'm not, know.
So if I wanted a glowing tattoo on my arm that said "Mum" with a love heart,
well, you could probably go to the tattoo artist and they'll put some glowing ink in there for you. But I don't think you need genetics for that.
But if I wanted a genetic one,
wow,
it could almost be like something you could put on, take off again when you wanted to. Almost.
Yeah, I don't know about it in humans, because we're quite complicated
more complicated
to smaller organisms, and I don't think we're manipulated that easily. That's just from having that question asked at the top of my head.
I'm just throwing it out randomly because I thought of this while you were talking about that, the idea of,
but I think that
out, 96 mutations.
Exactly. But if you did it at the embryonic level and you're introducing genes, so it's highly unethical. But if you introduced genes into a developing embryo, they would express something. As I don't know about a human that's already like living and fully developed as an adult, but definitely if you introduce some genes at the embryonic level, you don't know what you're going to get, honestly, because it all has to multiply and everything. But you will definitely influence the genes from that level, yes. But highly unethical.
We don't want to go there, no.
No.
Poor Johnny is the only kid in his high school class that glows. My parents thought it would be a cool idea at the time, but no one else.
No. I mean, recently they have genetically manipulated pigs so that they can produce organs that can be transplanted into humans. So that they're not as easily rejected. So there is this kind of work being done.
They did that, haven't they? But they haven't survived.
There is one person right now who is living with a liver.
Yeah.
They came from a pig.
It was done recently, and so far I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Yeah, I've heard very briefly about that.
He's alive, right? Which is good.
And he knows that it could go wrong, but so far he's okay. So this kind of thing is happening. There's that one. But anyway.
Sorry, you got me thinking about different applications of this while you were talking about it. Yeah.
It's true. And the rest of this, I was going to say that scientists already do modify natural proteins to for other purposes. Usually they put genetic codes, they add them to the ends of DNA sequences to code for molecules that they want. So they do it in a different kind of way. But then using AI could be another tool for aiding in the creation of molecules, but especially for medicinal use and other potential uses.
Medicinal use.
And probably the list of uses would be endless, from medicine to industry and all of that. But, would AI molecules, the development of AI molecules be as good as naturally evolved
that's
molecules? And that's always something interesting to think about. So there you go. Very interesting discussion. Yeah,
it is, because for me, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, could AI, and it's early days, but could it create, maybe sometime in the future, sooner or later, I don't know if our lifetime or not, but could there be this new golden age of medicine that AI, because it can cut out, so humans researching and doing they've got to do experiments over and over and over again and check results. And that's why, medicines, vaccines, etc. can take, they talk about, like you watch the news, right? And there's here's a medicine or a vaccine that will one day be able to do this, and then it's in trials, and it could be on the shelf in 10 years' time. It's always like that. Could AI speed up that process and do those experiments in computer models so that you cut out the middleman and get closer to the end product? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's it. And your genes can be manipulated. So if you were to introduce a molecule into your body that you want it to express a certain way, say if you have a disease, they could design a molecule to do that and introduce it into a body. I mean, there's so many different things, there's so much research being done in this field. So it's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, I guess it's as long as the testing and the results are positive, and it's done right in a way, Caroline. Don't just try to rush something and go, or promise something.
They're never rushed. They're always exactly. You can't rush.
It's got to be ethics,
exactly,
balances.
Definitely.
Obviously,
definitely in countries where there's a lot of regulation. You do experiment after experiment to kind of build on top, and then it has to go through a strict process before anything can be released. You've got to do trials, clinical trials, all the rest of it to make sure that it works. And,
definitely.
Yeah, and
it's a very robust process.
Cool. Cool. Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fascinating. Yeah, I wonder, as another thought, because Dave talked about, there was a tech show I was listening to, and they'll talk about this kind of topic, and they're saying, AI could potentially, again, you've got to feed the model so it learns whatever, but it could potentially generate a cure for different kinds of cancers and different, other diseases.
That's amazing.
It would be amazing. If you got, it'd be a good trade-off if AI could do that, for us.
Each cancer is kind of different in itself too.
They're all different,
And
exactly,
they are starting to tailor. They are starting to tailor treatments for different ones. Imagine if you could feed in the genetic code of that particular cancer, and it comes out with something that would.
That is amazing if they could do that.
That would be great.
What if the next pandemic, which won't be in our lifetime, I'm saying.
What
if it lasted 10 days instead of 2 to 3 years?
2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Feeding the virus, the protein, and then the spike protein or whatever, and then it comes out with an antibody to block it off straight away. That would be great.
And all we have to do is surrender to our robot overlords, and we're good.
They will protect us. They will protect us. We will love them. And bow to them. And never have a thought against them.
And when they say plug into the Matrix, we'll say, okay.
I'm sorry. I think of the movie Terminator for some reason. Anyway, that's another subject.
Not scary at all. All right. Thanks for that, Caroline.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Star Trek. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Star Trek.